Inside your body, there is a code. A code so tiny that you cannot see it with your eyes. But this code helped you build your face, your skin, your hair, your bones and blood, and almost every tiny machine working inside you right now. It is copied in almost every cell of your body. And every second, your body is reading parts of it to keep you alive. This code is called DNA. But DNA is not just a biology word from a textbook. DNA is the instruction system of life. It is the reason humans become a human. A mango tree becomes a mango tree. And a butterfly becomes a butterfly. But here's the crazy part. DNA itself does not walk, breathe, think, or pump blood. So how does a tiny molecule inside a cell create something as complex as you? To understand that, we need to go deep inside the cell. Your body is made up of trillions of cells. Skin cells, blood cells, muscle cells, nerve cells. And each one has a job. Now imagine we zoom into one of these cells. Inside the cell, there is a control center called the nucleus. And inside the nucleus, we find DNA. But DNA is not just floating around like a random thread. It is carefully packed into structures called chromosomes. Humans usually have 46 chromosomes in most body cells. You get 23 from your mother and 23 from your father. That means inside you, there is a biological information passed down from generations before you. A tiny chemical library inherited from your family. But what exactly is written inside this library? DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. The name sounds intense, but the idea is actually simple. DNA is a lone molecule that stores instructions. These instructions are written using 4 chemical letters: letter A, T, C, and G. A stands for adenine, T stands for thymine, C stands for cytosine, and G stands for guanine. All these 4 letters repeat in different orders, creating a biological code. Just like how English uses 26 letters to create thousands of words, DNA uses only 4 letters to create instructions for life. The order of these letters matters. Change the order and you may change the message. A small section of DNA that carries an instruction is called the gene. So, if DNA is the full instruction book, genes are the specific chapters. And chromosomes are like volumes in that huge biological library. So remember this clearly. DNA is the instruction material. Genes are useful sections of that instruction. Chromosomes are tightly packed bundles of DNA. But now comes the important question. What are these instructions actually for? The main job of DNA is to store instructions for making proteins. And proteins are where the magic starts to feel real. When many people hear the word protein, they think of gym, muscles, chicken breast, protein shakes, and bodybuilders. But in biology, proteins are much more than that. Proteins are the workers of the body. They build structures. They repair tissues, carry oxygen, send signals, speed up chemical reactions, and they also help cells to communicate. They help your body grow, heal, digest, fight disease, and survive. For an instance, hemoglobin is a protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen. Keratin is a protein found in hair, skin, and nails. Collagen supports skin, bones, and connective tissues. Enzymes are proteins that speed up reactions inside your body. So DNA is like the plan. Proteins are the workers that turn the plan into reality. But DNA is safely stored inside the nucleus, and proteins are made outside the nucleus in tiny structures called ribosomes. So, how does the instruction travel from DNA to the protein-making machine? Now, this is where one of the most important ideas in biology appears. The flow of information in cells is usually described like this: DNA to RNA and RNA to protein. This is called the central dogma of molecular biology. Let's make this super simple. Imagine DNA is an original recipe book kept safely inside a library. The cell does not want to take the original book outside because it is too important. So instead, it makes a copy of one recipe. And that copy is called RNA. Then RNA travels to the ribosome. The ribosome reads the RNA and builds the final product. That final product is a protein. So the process has two steps. First, transcription. This is when the DNA message is copied into the RNA. Second, translation. This is when the RNA message is read to build a protein. In simple words, DNA stores the instruction, RNA carries the message, the ribosome reads the message, and protein is made. That is how information becomes action. That is how a code becomes chemistry. And that is how a tiny molecule inside the nucleus affects the living body. Now let's imagine a gene contains the instruction for making a specific protein. If the gene is read correctly, the correct protein is made. That protein then does its job. Maybe it helps to carry oxygen. Maybe it gives strength to hair. Maybe it helps in digesting food. Maybe it helps cells to repair damage. But what if the DNA instruction changes? What if one letter is replaced? What if a small part is missing? What if the message is copied incorrectly? Then the RNA may change. The protein may change. And if the protein changes, the body may change. Sometimes the change does nothing. Sometimes it causes disease. This is why DNA is so important. It is not just a molecule sitting inside cells. It is information that can shape life. For an instance, if the instruction for hemoglobin changes, it can affect how red blood cells carry oxygen. If an instruction for a skin pigment protein changes, it can affect skin, hair, or eye color. If an instruction for an enzyme changes, it can affect how the body processes certain substances. This is the connection. DNA affects proteins. Proteins affect cells. Cells affect tissues. Tissues affect organs. Organs affect the whole body. So when we talk about DNA, we are not only talking about something microscopic. We are talking about the foundation of visible life. But DNA is not only about what happens inside your body today. DNA is also about where you came from. You inherited DNA from your parents. This is why children often resemble their families. Maybe your eyes look like your mother's. Maybe your smile looks like your father's. Maybe your hair texture, height tendency, blood group, or certain body features came from combinations of genes passed through generations. But you are not a perfect copy of anyone. You are a unique combination, a new mix, a new version of an old biological story. And that is why siblings may look similar, but not exactly the same. They receive different combinations of DNA from same parents. So DNA is not just instruction. DNA is also inheritance. It is a biological memory passed from one generation to the next. And now, this brings us to one of the biggest questions in modern science. If DNA is the code of life, can humans change the code? Today, scientists are already learning how to edit DNA in specific ways. This is being studied and used especially in the treatment of serious genetic diseases. But this also raises deep questions. Can we correct harmful mutations? Can we prevent inherited diseases? Can we change traits? Could future humans be designed? And most importantly, just because we can edit life, should we? These are not just science questions. These are ethical questions. They are future of humanity questions. But before we understand gene editing, we need to understand the basics first. And that starts with this. DNA is the code. Genes are instructions. RNA is the message. Proteins are the workers. And life is what happens when the code is read. So the next time you look in the mirror, remember this. You are not just skin, bones, blood and muscle. You are information turned into life. Inside almost every cell, there is a molecule carrying instructions written long before you were born. A molecule copied from your parents. A molecule shaped by generations. A molecule your body reads every second. That molecule is the DNA. The hidden code that builds you. And in the next episode, we will go deeper into inheritance. How does DNA move from parents to children? How do we look like our family? Why are siblings different? And how can one tiny change in DNA create a major difference in life? This is ZabsLearn, and this is the story of life, written in 4 letters.